There was one time that I was with a group of people. I was happy to be with that group of people, but I was really worried when I was with them. I was thinking, what if they didn't like what I said, or they didn't want to, or they didn't, or they thought what I said was weird, or they wouldn't want to hang around with me if I said something. So I kept quiet most of the night. I tried not to say too much, and I let fear just control me. Fear is something that is very binding. So instead of having fear, we need to let trust in God and let that control us instead. Deuteronomy 31:6 says how, "Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." This is so true. God is with us and is helping us at all times. So today we're going to talk about how God is with us, fear, and how God will never leave us. Fear is very binding. According to Bertrand Russell, who's a British philosopher, fear is the main source of superstition. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. Fear needs to be overcome and conquered. Instead of having fear, we need to have faith and believe that God is in control. One song that I like to think of when I think of fear is "Fear is a Liar." This is so true because fear is a liar. Fear tells us that things are worse than they actually are, and fear tells us how things could be when that's actually not how they would be. So fear completely lies to us. Now the second part of Deuteronomy 31:6 says how the Lord is with us. This is just like a loving parent who's teaching a kid to ride a bike. The kid goes on its own and the parent is there with the kid, but the kid is going, and whenever the kid falls or needs help, the parent's right there to help the kid. This is just like how God is with us. Whenever we need help or we're afraid, God is right there for us. This shows how God is on our side and He's with us. God has a plan for our lives. He's not just going to abandon us. And things are going to work out in the end. Sometimes we think that everything's going to turn out bad if one thing goes wrong. But in reality, if one thing goes wrong, God has a plan. And maybe that happened because something better is going to happen in the end. God has a plan for everything that happens. So we need to remember that we have a loving Father who is with us and has everything under control. Now the last part of Deuteronomy 31:6 says how He will never leave us. And this is so true. He won't leave us when we are happy, when we are sad, or even when we have left Him. Because yes, we do leave Him at times. We may leave Him because we are afraid, or we may leave Him because we're distracted. But even when that happens, God is right beside us to the end. According to Rebecca Barlow Jordan, who's a speaker and an author, one truth that we can cling to without a doubt: His plans do not include abandonment. This shows that He is always faithful and loving towards us. So I know that I've said a lot, and let me kind of sum it up by saying this. Fear is the enemy of faith. So instead of having fear, we need to trust God and know that He has a plan for our lives. According to Billy Graham, who's an evangelist and a writer, we can trust God because He is bigger and greater than anything we face. God is bigger than our biggest pains and our biggest fears. God has everything under control and is right beside us to the very end.